Hey fam, thanks for tuning in to my channel. If you are a first-time viewer, welcome, and if you are a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. Today's video will be part 1 to things that I learned in 2015. Things that I know will serve me well if I keep them in mind and practice them going into 2016. Oftentimes when going into a new year or just trying to jumpstart a new phase in life, or just move on from something difficult, or just move into a next set of goals, sometimes we can just count and see, like, look over our list and see, like, did I accomplish this, that, and the third that I planned to accomplish last year. But it's really important to, beyond that, see, like, wait, what did I actually learn? What did I learn in the past 12 months? Over time, we realize, like, wow, I've grown from that, or man, I don't think that anymore. I know better now. So it's important to stop and assess what things we've actually learned from the previous year before coming up with a whole new list of things to do. So it's going to be important to break it into parts, because everything's layered. Everything's layered, and the more layers, the more time it takes to cover. So instead of trying to cover this all in one video and feeling like I did not touch on something that, like, is right here for me, I figured it would be better for me to just do one thing at a time. Let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk about that I learned in 2015 is how important it is to express disappointment and grieve losses. How important it is to say, like, wow, I'm really disappointed about such and such, or to be honest and say, that hurt me. Grieving oftentimes is equated with, having lost a loved one, which is a major example of a time where a person is going through a grieving process. So I think, I've probably been more attentive to myself in where I am in the process of grieving a loss of someone who has left and is no longer here in the earth with me. I've probably paid a lot more attention to that than other things that have taken place that I just kind of brushed off and said, oh, it's all good. Worse things have happened. No big deal. Move on. All true. Sure. Gotta move on. Worse things have happened. And maybe certain things aren't necessarily a big deal to someone else. But getting to a place where I realize, like, it's important for me to be honest with myself and say, this really hurt me. Or I was disappointed that such and such did not happen, or I was disappointed that such and such did happen. I have just learned over the past 12 months how numb I had become in different areas of my life, and how my justification for that numbness was really spirituality. The fact that I know that suffering is a part of the Christian life, to say, well, that's just a part of this thing, keep it moving. All true. But a big part of being able to move on past disappointment, or move on past hurts, unexpected obstacles, a big part of moving on is being honest. So I'm developing a new habit of being honest with myself about how I feel about certain things. I could trace it back to being, younger, being in high school, college, and even as a very, very young adult when I first graduated from undergrad. Figuring out that I could not be run by my emotions, that I could not make choices based upon my emotions if I were going to live a Christian life. But in the process of that realization, what I started to do was just be, just not allow myself to feel, not allow myself to fully experience good things. to fully experience bad things. And in not allowing myself to fully experience bad things, this whole numbness took place, which also stopped me from really being able to experience fully good things. And so I've learned that a part of, getting through hard things successfully is being honest about the fact that it's hard, of being honest about the fact that this hurts, of being honest about the fact that I'm disappointed. So I think that is probably one of the best lessons that I learned in 2015 that I feel is going to serve me very well in the present and beyond, because it's just a part of being emotionally healthy. It's even a part of being spiritually healthy. Something else that I was able to acknowledge about not wanting to, I guess, feel the disappointment or really be honest about it is the fact that some of the roots of that was pride. Like some of the reason why I didn't want to express disappointment or express hurt was pride. Like feeling like, I'm at a space in life where that ain't supposed to hurt me. Like I'm supposed to know that's coming and it's all good. Like pride, like completely. It was just pride. So a part of me humbling myself before the mighty hand of God was acknowledging, like, okay, I'm disappointed about such and such. Like I'm not happy about that. I did not feel good about this happening. Some of the things that I had hoped to see some progress in 2015 didn't happen. And in being a human being, I can say I'm disappointed because that didn't happen. And then be in a good space to move on and present my desires to God and have an open heart for His will for my life. So that's one of the most valuable things that I can say I learned in 2015. Suffering produces a lot of things in people, and it's God's desire, according to Scripture, for suffering to produce patience and endurance, and a dependence on Him. But on the negative side, the things that God did not design suffering to produce would be bitterness and even denial, self-righteousness, or even self-loathing. Suffering produces a lot of things in the human experience. Getting a biblical outlook of suffering in the life of a Christian has helped me to recognize that I did not know how to grieve or let go of things, because in not grieving and not expressing disappointment and moving on, there are roots of bitterness that just take place. Roots of bitterness that can grip the heart of a person who's not able to be honest and say, I'm hurt by whatever it is. Being honest opens up so much space for so much healing and so much health. I believe it's John the 11th chapter, where we see that Jesus wept about Lazarus. And there are a couple of different, ways to exegete that with regards to why Jesus was weeping. But a big portion of why he was weeping was because he was sad. Whether he felt that disappointment or that sorrow just because Lazarus was dead, knowing in His sovereignty that He was going to raise Lazarus. Jesus was weeping. The point is, He expressed sorrow and He expressed disappointment. So that communicates to me from Scripture that I can express sorrow and disappointment and not feel like less of a Christian or, a hypocrite because I preach hope to people and here I am crying about such and such. Basically, what I had to say to myself is, girl, Jesus wept. Get over yourself. Lose the pride. be honest about how you feel about stuff, and then keep it moving. So learning to express disappointment and learning to grieve my losses is probably one of the most valuable lessons that I learned in 2015 for 3 reasons. One, it's helping me to be an emotionally and spiritually healthy person. 2, it's improving my relationship with God, because that pride is being crushed and my heart is being more open to his point of view about life. And 3, it's improving my relationship. I can be honest with people about how I feel about things and open up a space for healing, for repair. And one of the tools that helped me with that was actually this book, Why a Suffering World Makes Sense. It's by Chris Tigrine. And wow, this book confronted me in so many ways. It reiterates, what I have read in scripture about suffering. If you want to hear more about this book, let me know. It's one of the ones that I'm going to talk about anyway, with there's a couple that I want to talk about, but it's one of the ones that I'll talk about more. But I did want to share that. So I'll conclude this video here, and I will return with the second thing that I learned in 2015. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends. And I hope it's been helpful to you. Thank you for your support of my channel. I greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Be honest, assess, communicate what you need to communicate to folk, and then keep it moving.